Hey, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality and all things asexual. I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. So subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So in today's episode, we're going to be discussing how to deal with and manage unexpected change in your asexual life. So today I found out that I'm likely going to have to move again because my landlord is probably selling and he wanted to give me a heads up. So where I live, I moved to here last year. I actually got the keys on the January the 9th and I moved in on the 6th of February because I had to build flat pack furniture with my friends at that time because there was no storage to put my clothes and things in, and there was no hot water, the shower's broken, things needed repairing, so it took nearly a month to get it ready before I actually moved in here. And I had to move because my last landlord, where I'd lived for years, was selling that property to his son. So in the UK at the moment, there's quite a lot of stuff going on, which means people are selling up rather than renting out. And it seems that most of the properties in my city are student accommodation that's being rented. So that's what it was like when I had to look for a place to move to, which I moved to here. I was warned that the landlord is 80, this was last year, and that he might need to sell the property if he needs to go into a home or if anything happens to him, such as he died. So I was aware of that. So I've never felt 100% settled in here because I know that I can't stay here forever. However, it was a shock to have an email through today to say that my letting agency had been having a conversation with the landlord and he's said to tell me that he may be putting the property up for sale. I'll see if I can get his exact words. Because obviously it was a bit of a shock. So, hi Sandra, following a conversation I have just had with your landlord, they are considering selling the property, so have asked me to mention this to you in advance. It is possible that we may need to issue you 2 months notice to vacate from your next rental day, which would be the 9th of October, which means I'd have to be leaving here by the 9th of December at the very latest. Well, 8th of December, the day before. They wanted to give you the heads up in case you wanted to start looking for alternative accommodation. Naturally, once this is confirmed, I will, of course, let you know. Sorry, I know this is not the news you were probably looking for. Kind regards. So yeah, there is a problem with the windows in here because the windows are very rotten and moldy, and so there is a problem in the flat with rotten windows. In the shower room slash toilet, one of the windows is so rotted that it's actually like screwed down, so you can't even open it. It's got foam to hold the glass in as well because the glass was falling out before I moved into it. So it's really quite difficult in that respect. And I did actually mention that recently, like what's happening in the windows, because it does affect my health. I think that's not helping my health, to be honest, because since I've moved here, I've had a lot more rashes and things like that and itching. So I think it might be something to do with actually the flat. And I don't know if that's because it's an old flat or if it's got mold issues or what. So moving won't be so bad from that point of view. But yeah, I was very shocked. But I was only just saying to my best friend, I think it was the last time I saw him, that I have been thinking about moving. And actually, for months while I've lived here, I've been looking at other properties to see what prices there are in Exeter, to see what else is on the market, and to see what else I could get for this price. But usually there isn't much. It's either all student accommodation or the majority is out of my price range. So that's going to be really, really tough, because I need to find somewhere. A lot of the time, it's either a room with just ensuite, which is usually student accommodation, or out of my price range. So But it's interesting that I was saying to my best friend about the fact I was thinking about moving, but not at the moment because I needed to get more money together to move first. So, yeah. And it's interesting because I'm very spiritual and I believe everything happens for a reason. I believe you can manifest things with your mind. So you can literally have thoughts about something that can come true and happen. So the fact I've even been thinking about moving and looking at places to move to, possibly, like what's available, but there's been nowhere specifically I thought, oh, that'd be great to go there. Then, you know, you could argue it's just a coincidence, but when I think about something and I think about it subconsciously, but I'm quite conscious of it as well. And when I've actually taken action towards moving, I'm thinking about actually moving, then it's more likely to push that thing into motion and energy and make it happen. Because I'm not totally happy here because of the mold problem with the windows, because it's near a main road and it's not very well soundproofed. And there's been a lot of people shouting in recent weeks. I haven't heard anything in the last few days, but there was quite a lot of shouting going on and swearing late at night. It made me feel quite unsafe. I'm safe in the place actually, but because I live near a road, my windows are right parallel to the bridge. The road that goes, which is actually across, which is actually on a bridge. Then you know what I mean. I get worried in case anyone did anything to my windows or anything. You know what I mean. So my windows are really high up though, because I live in the top floor, so that'd be quite difficult for them to get anything like that. But you know what I mean. But one of the windows is more parallel to the actual bridge thing, you know what I mean? So I do worry about stuff like that, and it's not pleasant, like when you have to deal with people shouting and stuff. And there's no soundproof in it, but the actual interiors inside this place is really nice, in terms of like um I am safe actually in the house. It's got nice people in the house, and obviously I can have all my own storage here, all my own furniture here, my own bed and everything, and my own, curtains and stuff like that. So I've spent quite a lot of money buying curtains and things for this place. That's my curtains behind. So, yeah, it's been quite hard to take that information in. But I do follow a tarot reader on YouTube, and he specifically kept saying you're going to be moving. Some of you are going to be moving. He keeps bringing it up, and I'm thinking, does he know something I don't? Well, clearly he did. So I'm really stressed out by the fact that I've got to move, and the pressure's now on a bit, but obviously it'll be more on when they give me official notice. But I've got to move before Christmas by the 9th of December. Well, I have to be out of here by the 8th of December. So that means I need to find somewhere, but I don't want to rush it and end up near a road again. Because I have actually seen a property that I could afford, but it's near a main road and it's above a cafe, which means that you get loads of traffic, plus you get all the noise from the cafe underneath, plus you get people smoking and vaping underneath the windows when they're sitting outside the cafe. So it's probably not a good idea. And it doesn't have a freezer either. So, and I don't know if the washer dryer is if it's washer dryer, just wash it. But obviously, this is a shock to the system. So, what you have to do if you have been given unexpected news, which this is unexpected, even though I was thinking about moving, it's still out of the blue because they haven't mentioned anything before recently about anything to do with this. They only mentioned before I moved in here that I might need to move out again. So, obviously, you have to deal with a shock. You have to understand that you might end up feeling like you're grieving because you're going to have to grieve something that's changed that you lost. So you might go through a grieving process or start the grieving process while you're actually losing that thing, which is kind of hard. If the thing you're losing is something that you're not so keen on or you'd rather have something else anyway, that does make the process better, but it doesn't mean to say that there's nothing good about your current situation that you don't like. And so therefore you have to accept the fact that you might have to grieve some parts of the change, but obviously this is going to stress me out more, but I have to try and remain calm. So when it first happened, my cheeks went bright red, and that's to do with stress. I think I started to feel really dizzy, and and then I started to panic. And I'm thinking, what the hell do I do? And then I'm like, well, you just got to look for property. So I've been looking for properties already. I actually phoned up about one, but it's not suitable. So I've already took some action. So I think what you have to do is deal with the shock, understand you might be stressed, upset, hurt, angry, in pain, having to do some grieving, and having to get used to the idea. If it's something you've already considered, you're kind of already used to the idea. So I've already been used to the idea a lot of the fact that I can't stay here forever. So I've never felt 100% settled here, like it's my home forever, because I know it isn't. And obviously when you rent, it's never really a forever home, because unless unless the tenancy outlives you, if you know what I mean, then you'll always have to keep moving. But the point to remember is that if you've done something before, you can do it again. So I faced homelessness before, and I found this place to live. And if I can do that, it means I can do it again. You know, I can find another place to live. The difficulty is you've got to make sure you don't get into a scarcity mindset, because it's so easy to do that, thinking there's not many options available and backing yourself into a corner that you have to pick a specific place to live. You might have to just take something temporarily, right? You might have to take something that you're not so fond of. But at the end of the day, you've got to spend like most of your life in the home if you work from home like I do, for example. So it's got to be really good, and you've got to like where you live. So what is best to do if you are in a situation where you've got to move, for example, is make a list of all the qualities you want in a new place and actively look for those qualities in a new place. Similarly, if you're moving locations, if you're actually moving completely out of where you currently live, the area, to another area, you have to work out what features you want in the new area. What things do you want? Like, what shops do you want to be near? If you've got kids and they go to school, like, is there a school nearby? Is there a train station? Is there a bus station? How far is it to the nearest supermarket? If you're looking for a new relationship and you've got to split up with a current person, like, obviously I wouldn't advise getting into a new relationship straight away anyway. But if you're moving from being single to actually being in a relationship, and that is a unexpected change, that, like, all of a sudden, oh, I want to be in a relationship now, then you need to be picking out the qualities that you want in a person, not thinking about, oh, have we got great chemistry and I'm super attracted to this person, because that doesn't make a healthy, sustainable relationship. I want you to think about the qualities you want in that person, such as honesty, integrity, open communication, respectful of you and your time, organized, good at time management, good listening skills, able to give quality time to you if your love language is quality time, able to satisfy your love language. Do they have the same shared goals as you? Do they have the same vision for you? You need to find a builder, someone who wants to build an actual life and relationship with you, if that's what you want. So whatever the change is that is a shock to you, whether it's something that is like a relationship, or it's a financial shock, or it's a moving home shock, you have to work out what you actually want, ideally, to happen in this case scenario. And then you have to do something called reverse engineering to find out what steps you need to take in order to get that desired outcome. So with me, I have to think about, what qualities do I want in a property? What are deal breakers, and what are non-negotiables, and what are the things where I can be more flexible around it? And also, obviously there is time constraints, so I have to think about that. And also I have to think about finances and how I'm going to move all my furniture again. Like, luckily, quite a lot of it is still in boxes, like under the stairs and stowed away up here. So all that stuff I don't have to repack, because it's already still packed. Do you know what I mean? So I've been living off probably like less than a third of the stuff that I actually have, or maybe it's a third. But yeah, it's like quite good that I've probably still got 2/3 of things stored away, so I don't have to repack all that stuff. And you could argue then I could just get rid of it because I don't need it, because I don't use it, But some stuff is just tucked away and I don't even know where it is. But I sometimes think about, oh, I could do that now, but I don't know where it is. So yeah, so I think you have to think practically as well as understanding you're going to be emotional at this point in time. So you've got to try and balance the practicalities of the situation and doing that exercise that I just said. Plus, you have to deal with the emotions. Obviously, this has not come at a very good time for me in terms of my health, because I've still got a back injury that I'm trying to get better. I've got 2 broken bones in my spine that are healing, but are still causing me pain. They still cause me exhaustion. I've managed to do my exercises for today, and I did some yesterday. 2 days in a row was good for me. But having said that, I'm not doing exertion exercises. So I'm just doing the most I need to do and then stopping. Because if I do too much, then I'm just finding that I get too exhausted and can't do any work. So that brings me on to my next point, is if you've got something that does distract your mind or calm your mind down and help you to relax and de-stress, then do it. Because if we continuously focus on the problem, we don't get anywhere. So what I want you to do is be solution focused. So like I said, what is the ideal outcome, the solution to the problem you're currently facing, this change that is a shock to you, that was unexpected in your life? What is the ideal outcome? Now, you might say, well, I can't have my ideal outcome. Maybe it's because you have to move from a place you really, really love. Maybe it's because you have to end a relationship that you really love the person in. You don't want to leave them, but it's for your own good, right? So I would try and think about that. Like, whatever happens to us is usually for our own good in the long term. Even though it doesn't feel like it in the short term, it's usually good for us in the long term. And so, this moving for me is going to be stressful because my back injury is still not fully healed. So I can't be lifting and bending as much as I used to be able to, because obviously it sets my back off in pain again. I'm getting stronger, but I'm not at full strength yet. So this adds a layer of stress to my life that I really could do without at the moment. But I'm glad that they gave me a heads up about the fact that I will need to move, most likely, and that I can already start looking around for somewhere else to live, because this does give me a bit of extra time. It gives me like 2.5 months instead of 2 months, so it gives me a bit more time. But even so, it's the worst time coming up to Christmas again, you know what I mean? So, but hopefully, because they've let me know in September, then I can have a bit more time to look around. And it's important, like, obviously I'm gonna have to budget for moving, gonna have to budget for removals, gonna have to start packing things up again. So all this is going to be really stressful. Plus, I've got 2 books that I need to finish at the moment. But in order to keep my stress levels down, I have to keep writing my books, because writing is very therapeutic for me, besides the fact it's my life purpose. So when I write, I get a lot calmer when I just focus on my writing and what I'm doing in the moment. I've got to get my book done, got to get my book done. It allows me to feel more comfortable. It allows me to feel more relaxed. It allows me to be centered and focused on my present life, because otherwise all I'm doing is thinking about the change that's going to be happening. And I don't know when exactly everything's going to happen. Obviously, it's a change that I've already been told a change is likely to happen. I've been given a heads up already, which I am grateful for, but it's still like going to disrupt my life. Everything gets disrupted because everything has to be packed away. Then you have to get internet in your new place. And it's just a lot of stress and hassle and worry, and I really don't need. But what I need to do, and what you need to do if you're experiencing this type of thing, is, like I said, deal with the shock, deal with the grief, acknowledge your emotions, both good and bad. Come up with a plan, like a list of your ideal outcome, and focus on that ideal outcome solution that you want, not the actual problem. Because if you focus on the problem, you'll keep going around in circles. Focus on the solution, like, what do you ideally want to happen? What would be the best case scenario? And how do you get that best case scenario? What would be the work work back from that situation, reverse engineer it. So this is the ideal scenario. So what do I have to do to get to there? What do I have to do to get to that stage and that stage? So for example, with movement, like I said, it might be like create a list of my ideal things I want in a property, but my ideal, like things that are deal breakers, things I can't be flexible on, and things I can. So there's certain areas in Exeter that I do not want to move to, and I don't drive. So I need to be able to get to the city centre myself. I need to be near shops. I need to be near supermarkets so I can easily get food for myself. Those are things I need. I need my own toilet and shower room, as well as my own bedroom. I don't want to be sharing with people, I really want my own kitchen as well. I want self-contained, I don't want to be sharing anything because it wouldn't be good for me. So I need a washer dryer as well, I need a lot of things. But then it's like, what can I be more flexible on? Well, ideally I'd want double glazing, but if there isn't double glazing in the property, then I can live without that. Ideally I wouldn't want it to be, opposite a road again, near a main road, but I might have to do that again. So there are things that I have to be flexible on, and it's harder for me because I've got disabilities and I need to bring my own bed, for example, and a lot of places are furnished because this bed's specially made for me. So you could argue that I could do away with the base and still just use a mattress, but then the base has drawers underneath it, and also if I put it on a different base, it would feel differently, feel firmer on a actual hard base, for example. And then if I need to move again, what would I do then if I only have part of my bed? So you have to be thinking about all these things. Furniture I might have to get rid of if I've got nowhere to store it and sell it, which is crazy because I haven't had it that long. So I might have to do that, or otherwise put some furniture in another room, which if there's more rooms than's here, then that might be possible. I might be able to have sliding wardrobes in the lounge somewhere, for example. That's not totally out of the question. Some people have a separate room which is like a walk-in wardrobe, don't they? So, and I don't usually have many guests come around my home, so I'm on the top floor flat at the moment, so I could be on the top floor again, even though it is hard getting up loads of flights of stairs, especially with fibromyalgia. You know what I mean? There are things that I can accept, and if I've done things before, I can do them again. I have to pay someone to move me to another place. That's going to be tough. I don't like people in my things, and someone I don't know who I am, someone who I don't know who they are, but it might be a good idea to do that, right? Last time I had someone I knew, but it was still hard with them because I don't usually keep in contact with them that much. So I think it's very important for you to remain calm and not panic. I know it's really easy to panic, and I was panicking earlier. I was going bright red. I was feeling dizzy. I'm like, Sandra, breathe. This is not going to help you. Panicking is not going to help you. It's not going to solve the problem. It's not going to make the problem go away. It's just going to make you so you can't even function properly in the present, and it's not going to help you with the task you need to do, because I need to get 2 books finished. This book, Asexuality and the Asexual Guide to Sex, I need these finished before I move, and I need these done and out the way. I also want to do some accounts. I've done some paperwork towards that, but I haven't finished that before I move. I got things I need to get done here so I don't have to worry about them when I've moved. And I've got other stuff that's pending that I need to do. So it's a lot of things I need to do. So, I didn't get I applied to be a speaker at Tech Exeter, their conference, but I didn't get to be a speaker there. But the guy has messaged me back saying there's opportunities to do some speaking, like a talk just to a small group of people at their bi-monthly meetup, so because they do talks at one of their meetups every month. Usually they have 2 meetups per month, but now that I'm moving, I don't know when I'll be able to fit in preparing for that, so yeah, so it's going to be quite hard. And I guess in some ways it's lucky that I wasn't chosen to actually be a speaker at the specific conference they have, because that would be even more work for me now. So, but the talk I might do at one of their local meetups would still be the same talk anyway, so I'll still be doing the same amount of work for it. But I've told him I'm working on 2 book projects till the 20th of October, so I need to get that finished first. So yeah, plus I've also got to be pitched for media as well by Blue Talks Experts Bureau. So I've got to sort that out. So I've got a lot of stuff going on, as well as my health. My best friend's poorly at the moment, so I can't see him either. So all of this is like quite stressful, but I've got to remain calm. I've got to do whatever I can to stay calm, stay centered, be practical. And this is how you've got to manage the situation, because if we are really stressed and het up, we actually become less functional to see clearly what we have to do and to actually get on with the task we need to do and complete in order to actually succeed at achieving our goal, which is, in this case for me, getting a nice new place that I can call my home and feel happy and comfortable in, and that's even better than here. So you've got to think that whatever you do, whatever's in the future, is actually going to be better than what you've got currently in some way. You've got to have a positive mental attitude as much as possible, even if you're anxiety induced, right? And you've got to know that if you've got through tough times like this before, you can get through them again. I think that's so important, to look for evidence of when you've succeeded in hard times before, to know it's possible that you can do it again. You've seen the reality of the situation is that you can do something again. You know, if I've moved before, when I faced homelessness, I found this place, I can move again. It took me up to 14 hours a day to find this place, so it was hardcore. So it's very, very time consuming, because as soon as you see a property, that's it. You've got to go for it straight away. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be like, I want this place, you know, and then you've got to go through all the references and put the deposit down, and it could fall through. So nothing's guaranteed, you know. So I think you have to make sure that you're trying to manage your emotions whilst dealing with your emotions and accepting them, and try to do things that really fulfill you, bring you joy and happiness, and bring your stress levels down. Like for me, the writing of the books, it's absolutely essential, not only to get it done for asexuals, but because I want the books finished, you know? I want them done so they're out there helping people. And I also need them done because I've got to spend more time looking for a place. I've got to, you know, especially when I'm given actual legal notice, you know, when the time comes, I have to be even more looking for a place. But because they've given me a heads up now, this might be a sign from God and the universe that I need this time to actually look as well. So every day now I've got to spend some of my time looking for property in my city, and then basically hopping on it, you know, pounding on it, pouncing on it, or whatever you call it, the opportunities when they arise. So you've got to be very quick with properties. You can't mess around. These places go very quickly, within 24 hours, some of them. I know this from personal experience. So I think, you know, do things that make you calm, do things that make you relaxed, pay some attention and time to the thing that you actually have to solve. So the problem you have to solve, by focusing on the solution, and then focus the rest of your time on getting on with your day-to-day activities and what you need to do in the moment, because you've got to keep your life going as it is now. So you've just got to rearrange and reorganize your life in a way that accommodates the new change in your life, but doesn't completely disrupt everything in your life. Because in order to feel stable and secure and strong within yourself, you still need a foundation of something that's familiar to you, something that feels good to you, something that brings you joy and happiness, because that grounds you. Right? If I just go into mass panic and I start not doing the things I usually do, and I stop doing the things I usually do, I stop writing, I stop doing this channel, I'm obsessed with trying to find accommodation, like nothing else matters. Of course, it might get to that stage where I have to stop doing some things as much as usual, because I have to literally put all my time, energy, and effort into that. That's how it nearly went in the last place. You know, I got to the stage where I was spending 14 hours looking. up to 14 hours. I can know it was stressful, right? But this time I have got a little bit more time. So I have to make sure that I am doing things in the present that bring me joy and happiness, that reduce my stress levels, whilst also allocating some time every single day of my life at the moment to look and find a new property and making that priority and urgency. So the things that I need to focus on, the urgent and important tasks that are right in front of me right now, like finishing the Asexuality book, I've been spending all day working on it. I have to put that before other things. Right, there's a 2-day summit that's online that I wouldn't mind going to on Wednesday and Thursday this week, but I've already got stuff on Thursday. And if I spend time doing that, I don't get my book done. So I can't do that. I have to spend time doing my book because there's people who want to buy the Asexuality book. I got someone else today on my Facebook going, can't wait to read this book, you know? So it's going to be hard because I need to promote it, but if I have to move, then that'll disrupt the promotion of it. But the main thing is it's out there for readers, and people are enjoying the book and having a deeper understanding of asexuality. They're acing their asexuality, you know? So I think it's very important that I get that book out. I think it's very important that I complete all my tasks I need to do while I'm living here, that I need to do whilst I'm here. Because I really can't be doing them when I'm in the middle of packing boxes and having to deal with the move. Because when stuff gets packed away, you then end up losing stuff or forgetting stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't mean to say I can't carry on in another place. Of course, if I see a place tomorrow and it's like the ideal place for me, I put a deposit down, I've got to be moved within a month, then yeah, that might happen. But otherwise, I've got to focus on what I need to do and finish things. By finishing things and being productive, it makes me have a great deal of satisfaction, and it doesn't matter where I move to. My books will keep being on Amazon and you can get my books, do you know what I mean? Whether I move or what happens to me, I'll always be there for you to have as a reference and guide in your life. So I think it's important to allocate time to your current activities, so that stabilizes you and gives you confidence and self-esteem. Well, rather than just gives it you, it maintains it. And then make sure you have some relaxation time to do other things, like you do have some social time, you do have some time to meet other people, and then the rest of the time you're allocating to solve your new challenge. And so you're not focusing on the problem, you're focusing on the solution. Like, what is the solution? What do you want the outcome to be? And focus on that. Speak to friends and family members so they understand the difficulties you're going through. I was going to say speak to a counsellor or therapist if you need to, depending on what type of shock it is. Obviously, if it's a type of shock where a relationship has fallen apart, a friendship has fallen apart, you're getting a divorce or whatever happens like that, that can be very emotionally draining and upsetting. And, a therapist or counsellor could really help with that, So that can be hard, but you have to deal with what's in front of you as well as dealing with the new things. And so you have to combine your life with completing things that are outstanding in your current life, as well as dealing with the reality that you're going to be having a different future than you thought for some time, because if I thought my future was going to be here for a while, my present was going to be here for a while, then it's not. Then obviously I need to be thinking about what am I going to do now, So I hope this has given you some insights into how to manage change. I have anxiety, so I don't like change in general, but I've learnt that when we make change happen for us, rather than it just happening to me like it's happening now, then life is much better. However, I don't think this is completely unexpected to me, because I was already thinking about moving. I was already considering that here is not the ideal situation for me. I do like a lot of things about this place, or a number of things I like. but there are also some things I don't like, and I could get somewhere better than this. So I think that's really important. Of course, I can move somewhere else and wish I was still back here because this could end up being better than somewhere else. But that's just negative thinking, and that's not going to help you. So I'd urge you not to think negatively and think everything happens for a reason. And if you are being asked to move, then that can only be a good thing to your advantage. It's better for me to know now than to just have it sprung on me. And it is sprung on me, but it's sprung on me in advance, if you know what I mean. So I respect the fact that they've respected me enough to tell me that and given me a bit of extra notice. So I think you might need to journal, do some positive affirmations, meditation, etc., and just keep your stress levels to a minimum. Because when we get stressed, we get poorly. When we get poorly, we can't think straight. When we can't think straight, we can't function straight, and we can't actually get to the solution that we really want and desire because we're too poorly to even think about it or do it. So our goal is to try and keep ourselves as sane as possible, as happy as possible, as joyful as possible in a difficult situation. Our goal is to do whatever we feel we need to do in order to make ourselves feel better. It is a bit like survival of the fittest sometimes in life. It is about growing resilience and strength of character. And it is about challenging our own ideology sometimes of what we believe we're capable of. It's also looking for evidence, like I said, of when we've done something similar before, the same type of thing, to know we can do it again and get through tough times. And it's about managing our time effectively to come up with the solution and try to obtain the solution, the ideal outcome that we want, whilst maintaining our own current life and finishing off the things that we've got to do in our life that are urgent and important. So it's about balancing where we are now in our life with other aspects of our life that aren't changing, but that are causing us to have movement in life, things that we need to progress with, things that we need to do. So this might be financial budgeting. You might need to budget for things. This might be, dealing with a child if you're asexual who's got children, and maybe they're changing schools or their homework's difficult. You have to deal with all these things as well. And so it really is like a case of dealing with the present and making room in your life to deal with the new change. And whatever you naturally feel helps you to cope the best and manage in the best way, do that thing and do more of it. And keep in mind that you will get through this, even though it's hard. You will be okay. And in the end, hopefully, you'll be in a much better position than you are now, even with this change happening. And remember that the change really does happen for you rather than to you. So although this change is happening to me in the sense that it was out of the blue, I had actually already been thinking about moving. And because I said that to my best friend about the fact I'm not totally happy here, then that already put in my mind, and I already was looking at different properties the next door. In fact, a lot of the time I've even been here, I've been looking at properties for months because I have a genuine interest in renting properties. I look at buying property. I can't afford to buy a property right now, but just because I'm in these circumstances right now doesn't mean to say that it won't change in the future. Your current circumstances do not dictate your future. They don't. So whatever your current circumstances is, doesn't mean to say they're going to be that doesn't mean to say they're going to be the same circumstances in a year's time, in 2 years' time from now, in 3 years' time from now, in 4 years' time from now. Do you know what I mean? So it's important that we take the time to think about these things and know that change is necessary, even if we don't like it, and that we can get through these things. And if you've already been considering in the back of your mind a change, whether that's a relationship change, a financial change, responsibility change, or a where you live change, then if you've already been considering that, then the universe is just giving you what you've already thought about. And therefore, it shouldn't come as such a shock to you. You know, it shouldn't come as such a shock. And hello in chat, JT. And yeah, just sit with the notion of what's happened. Like I said, speak to people who you're going to get a good caring response from if you can, like family and friends. Get some support. Tell people how you're feeling. Don't be ashamed of feeling anxious and scared and fearful when change happens. These are natural responses and reactions. It's natural to feel upset. It's natural to feel stressed or angry or frustrated. It's natural to feel negative emotions, but we want to try and focus on positive aspects of this change as much as possible. And we need to realize that everything happens for our own good, even if we don't see it at the time. You know? So I hope this has given you some insight into how you could manage and deal with an unexpected change. And get some support in online groups as well. Like I joined Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club when I had to split up with but after I split up with my ex this year, because that was a horrendous breakup for me. And so by going in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club, I'm now getting a lot of online coaching and training and support that I wouldn't have had before. So sometimes something difficult can happen in our life, something shocking or unexpected can happen to change our life, but it actually works in our favor in the long term. And we're better off in some way because of it in the long term. And so we have to understand that we have to have delayed gratification sometimes and delayed satisfaction. So people tend to want things to be satisfying and gratifying every single second of the day. But that's just not realistic. And life does have ups and downs, and we have to ride the waves and the storms of the ups and downs. And we have to understand if we're going through a lot of hardship, time, a lot of pain, a lot of stress, a lot of negative stuff, a lot of stuff that might make us feel down or difficult or not so good, there's a darn lot of good things coming our way. I always think that, because just logically, when you have a lot of downs, you have to go up. The only way from down is up. So if you have a lot of change which you feel down about and feel it's not good or difficult or stressful or painful, it just means there's a hell of a lot of good stuff coming your way. I truly believe that. You know, like I've gone through a lot of health issues this year, throughout nearly all the year. And I'm like, boy, I'm really overdue some good stuff happening. And obviously this change about me moving, consider I was already thinking about moving, you know, there's good things and bad things about it, isn't it? It came at a very bad, or it has come, should I say, at a very bad time in terms of my back. Because my back, I really need to get better before I move. Because moving is going to be stressful enough as it is. And I'm going to have to pack boxes and bend and stuff like this. So it's going to be hard. I'm probably going to have to start packing sooner rather than later. But that's going to be hard for me. So it hasn't come at a very good time in that respect, but it has come at a good time in the sense I was already thinking about moving in the future. But it was in the future, but I was actually thinking about it presently, like what would I really like to have as accommodation? Like what type of accommodation would I like? You know, what would be better if I had it? You know, like I would love double glazing, to be honest with you. I'd love to be living more down a back road or a side road where I'm not on the main road, you know? But just because I want that doesn't mean to say I'm going to get it. But now I have to move, pretty much. There's going to be more chance of me getting that, because if I did stay here, I'm not going to get that anyway, because this place doesn't have that. So I've got more choice and options of being able to get somewhere where I like that than staying here. If I stay here, I'm not going to get that. So sometimes things happen for us that changes our lives for the better, even though it's stressful and difficult for us at the time. And I really think karma will work its way to me very soon, or at least in the next year, for all the struggles I've had with my health this year. Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking, God in the universe, angels, powers that be, whatever you believe in, fairies, whatever you believe in, then I'm due some really good karma, you know? I'm due some really good stuff for all the shit health I'm going through this year. But my health could be worse, you know, like there's people much worse off than me. So, yeah, I've been thinking lately, oh, I'm healing. I'm telling myself constantly, I'm healing, I'm healing. But now there's this change in my system, you know? And earlier on, I was feeling really dizzy and my face was bright red. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like stopping my healing process. And now I'm thinking, no, you're healing, Sandra, still. You're healing. You're healing. You're actually thinking about moving before you even got told you need to move. So that's kind of like healing, isn't it? Because it's thinking positively about a better future for myself, even before I was told that I need to move. So the fact I was even thinking about that, you could say it's coincidence, serendipity, synchronicity, or you could say that I manifested it from my mind, depending on what you believe. But I always think, like, if I'm going through all these tough times, I'm really due some blooming good stuff coming my way. And I want you to remember that, you know, always have hope. Hope is a very important thing. Hope for the future, hope for your current situation, hope for where you want to go. The more you want something, the more you try to get things in your life, the more you have to get out of your comfort zone and fight for it. The harder it actually is sometimes to get things you want, because life tends to be easier when we're getting the things we don't want, because we don't have to struggle for them. They just land on our lap. But when we have to get things we really do want in life, it's harder. The life tests us. God, the universe, whatever you want to call the powers that be, if you believe in that, tests us. They give these huge tests saying, okay, how bad do you really want this thing? Like, okay, you think you want that? Let's give it to you. Let's see what your reaction is. Like, I literally just spoke to my best friend, like when I last saw him, I think it was, about this. Do you know what I mean? I think it might have been the second to last time I saw him, because last time I saw him was the emergency with the washer dryer. So it might have been the time before that, actually. But I was only just discussing this with him on a recent visit from him about thinking about moving, and that I'd been looking around at properties to move to before I actually got told I need to move today. So, well, yesterday now, because it's gone through to the next day. So, do you know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that I even thought that and spoke it out loud to another person could have shifted the universe into motion for me. Because sometimes we won't do things ourselves. We need a push from the world and the universe in order to get us to do things. Because we might think something, but we don't take action on it because we get fearful. And then the universe is like, well, okay, you thought it. You must really want it. So here you are. Hand it to you on a platter. Is this what you really want? Yes or no? Tell me now. Do you know what I mean? So be careful what you think, because it could come true, good things and bad things. So we have to be very careful of our mind. We have to be very mindful of what we're putting into it. And usually if we want something to happen or we don't want something to happen, subconsciously, we'll get our result. So there might be like a meeting you say you want to attend, but really you don't want to attend it. There'll be something happen. There'll be something happen. I meant something that does happen that will stop you going to that meeting usually. If it's something that's not like routine and you don't have to go to, but even then, even if there's something routine, you might find someone comes along with another task and says this is more important than that meeting you've got to go to. I've had situations where I know other people would enjoy certain thing happening, but I don't actually want that to happen. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't actually want this to happen. And it hasn't happened because I've actually thought I don't want it to happen. So the power of our mind is so powerful, and it's very underrated. And I believe you can use the power of your mind to conjure things up in your life and make things happen. So we have to be very mindful of our thoughts. We have to be very mindful of what we're putting into our brains. This is why it's so important in relationships that if you do start having doubts about things, you speak to your partner about them, or even a friend. If you've got doubts about a friendship, you bring you bring these things up out into the open, because if you start having doubts and you don't bring them out into the open, you'll be festering more and more on the doubt, like, this doesn't really work, or it's not working for me. You'll focus on that more and more, to the point where the relationship or friendship gives you the reason that you're not actually happy anymore, to the point where it's so big and obvious you're not happy that you have to leave. So if you're in a situation with a relationship that you do want to save and you want to get better, you need to have open, honest communication with that person at all times, consistently and persistently. It's harder work to do that. It's harder work to bring things up and difficulties and issues. But unless you do that, you'll end up with a broken friendship or a broken relationship. Because if you're subconsciously thinking all the time that, oh, I'm having problems, I'm not feeling good in this relationship or friendship for some reason, and this is an issue, but it's not being addressed, and I've tried to address it and it's still not being addressed. But have you tried to address it outrightly? Have you said directly to the person what it is that's bothering you, how it makes you feel, and the behavior you want to see changed as a result of that? So you have to be really crystal clear. There's some people that are in relationships and they literally just sabotage the relationship, because instead of talking to that person, they just shut down and don't speak to them. And therefore they sabotage that friendship or relationship by not being open and honest. And sometimes they listen to their friends and what other people say. And obviously your friends are important because they might have a better judgment of the situation than you do, especially if it's a romantic relationship, right? Where chemistry is flying. But also, like, sometimes if your friends are jealous, which can be the case for some people, if your friends are jealous, they might purposely not want you to be that person. So they might tell you, oh, that person's going to leave you, and why would that person want to be with you? You're, you know, like, you're really not at their level, or something stupid like this. So therefore they'll just leave you. And then that plants a seed in your subconscious mind. And then you start thinking that all the time, festering on it. And instead of trying to make it work with the person, you kind of give in, give your effort up with them, and then end up with that outcome that you've given up effort, time, energy. They've seen a change in you. They don't like the change, and therefore you end up splitting up. So you've got to think about these things as well. That is why the power of the mind is so important. You know, what we think a lot of the time does come true, or we make our situation happen so that thing comes true. And eventually we get what we want, but we don't necessarily want what we get when we get it. So you've got to be very crystal clear on what you do want and what you don't want in life. And sometimes we have to, well, a lot of the time we have to fight for what we really want in life. We have to be strong. We have to work hard to get what we want in life. Some people might tell you otherwise, and it's not true. And maybe for some people, they don't have to work so hard in life. But usually anything that is very difficult to obtain, maintain, and keep and sustain is something you've got to fight for and work hard for. That's where people like find relationships really difficult, and a lot of people give up. They're like, oh, it's too much like hard work and effort. And then they go back out on dating sites again and start swiping for hours with people who don't even give a shit about them. And you're like, well, you could have actually spent that time that you're swiping over all those other women or guys or whatever gender you're into, you could have actually been using wisely to actually sort the relationship out you had in the first place. It would have been okay had you actually put time, energy, and effort into sorting the problems out, dealing with conflicts, bringing up difficult topics, and try and resolve those. But instead, you want to avoid intimacy, you want to avoid difficult conversations because you think it's wrong, probably because you've been programmed to believe difficult conversations are wrong. And therefore, you then go off again to do the exact same thing again. Swipe left, swipe right, be on dating sites for hours on end, trying to find the right person for you. You find someone, something doesn't work out in your favor, or it goes wrong, or it's not quite what you want, or someone says something, and you have to step up to the plate and actually try to grow yourself as a person. You don't like that. You don't like confrontation. You'd rather not bother, and so you don't bother because you get lazy, and then you go back in the same cycle of dating again. Do you know what I mean? So some people constantly go in this cycle of dating because they can't be bothered to put the time, energy, and effort into a serious, committed relationship. They don't see the value in it. Whereas other people see the value in actually spending their time working on a relationship with a person they're actually in an existing relationship with, whether that's a friendship or a romantic relationship. Because if you are already in a friendship or a romantic relationship, you already know the person, you've already done some of the work. So you're just building blocks, healthy blocks with them of development in that relationship to grow it. Whereas if you just give up and go, oh, I'm just going to go on another dating site again and try and find another good looking person, you're going after someone for all the wrong reasons. Oh, right, they're good looking. Does that mean to say they make a good partner? No. Does that mean to say they're reliable? No. Does that mean to say they put time and energy and effort into the relationship? No. Does that mean to say that they're going to be reliable? No. Does it mean to say they're going to want the same lifestyle as you? No. Does it mean to say they're going to want to have the same long-term goal as you for the relationship? Nope. Does it mean to say you got things in common? Nope. Just having chemistry with someone and someone being good looking does not mean to say you're going to have a long-term, sustainable, healthy, serious, committed relationship. In fact, if they're really, really good looking, they think they're really, really good looking and the best thing since sliced bread, they're more likely to want attention from other people and go off with another person. So there we go. I'm grateful, honestly, that I never had sex in my life, says someone in chat. Metaphysical Mike. I could have got my ex pregnant. I could have been a father at a young age. I love being a virgin. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's a really, really important point. I'm actually writing my Asexuality book at the moment. And one of the common questions, believe it or not, is that's searched is, can an asexual girl get pregnant? And some people think that just because someone's asexual, they can't get pregnant. This includes women themselves. I've actually had girls in my inbox telling me they've had unprotected sex because they're asexual. And I'm like, of course, an asexual girl can get pregnant. Asexuality is not a disorder. It's not a sexual dysfunction. You know, it's not the same as impotency. Of course, someone can get pregnant. So just get that out of your head. A person who's asexual still has working tackle down there. I mean, some asexuals do say they don't get aroused, but it doesn't mean to say they can't get each other pregnant, right? So I'm glad that you didn't have sex with your ex and you're happy that you're a virgin. I think it's really important that if you're an asexual person who likes being a virgin, you're a virgin. You should always be what you want to be and be happy with it. And so this video I was talking about change because I've just been given the information that I've got to move again. So that's what sparked the idea for this video off and dealing with change. But I got to talking about relationships and having to change in relationships as well, because obviously there's loads of different changes we could end up going through in our life. But it's very important to focus on why that change is happening And is it something that's in your control? Is it something that's out of your control? But, you know, when you have unexpected change in your life, we have to deal with the change that is thrust upon us in the most practical way, whilst dealing with our own emotions and mental health, because it can be affected if that change could be disruptive to your life or destructive to your life, you know? So we have to assess the situation and do the best we can do at the time in that particular situation. And we still need to keep our wits about us and our logical mind about us, whilst also dealing with our emotions. I think as human beings, that's one of the hardest things to do if we're emotional people, which we are really. But some people repress and suppress emotions, like some people who are in my situation and like, oh, you've got to move. They would just repress and suppress their emotions and not acknowledge the fact that it's scary and it's stressful and it's anxiety inducing. They would just literally think, I can't think about that. I don't have time to think about it. And I perfectly understand that, because there's been times when even I've had to think like that. Sometimes you have to kind of like, you shouldn't repress and suppress your emotions, because it's not good long term for your physical and mental health. But there are situations where you are required to act quickly and kind of like put your emotions to one side to deal with at a later date. It isn't recommended to do that, but sometimes if the situation is like an emergency, we have to do that sometimes. But we have to remember to still be in touch with those emotions and know that we have to deal with them and work through them at the same time. So at the moment, I've got to deal with my emotions of a new change, but it's one that is not completely a shock. It's a shock to me, as in the sense of what's going to happen so soon, the news, but it's not a shock in the sense I was already thinking about it. So, but in terms of relationships, you know, you've got to decide if the change is happening, is it for the better, or are you a person that really does want to stay with the person you're with? And if so, can you resolve the situation so you're both happy? But if trust is broken, it's time to move on, you know? If it's a relationship you're dealing with and change has been thrust upon you and someone automatically says, well, I want to split up with you. Obviously, if you've done something wrong and you're being like horrible to that person and you're not listening to that person, you are going silent on them and you're not respecting them and you're not there allowing them to open up to you and feel safe and all this lot. So if there's something that fundamentally you're doing wrong, then yeah, they need to go from that relationship. But if it's a case of you just not put time, energy and effort into the relationship and you can turn it around, then you should attempt to do that, you know? Work out what the situation is and what influence you have in that situation, and if there's any way you can influence it for the better. Sometimes we just need to accept a change is inevitable and that has to happen, and the sooner we accept that, the better. But there is always a grieving process usually to change, even if it means that something better is happening. There's usually still a grief because you're still losing something. But if what you gain is so much better than what you lose, then it's let's have a celebration in the end, right? When you get your end solution that I was talking about, the thing that you want to happen. So always remember, what is your ideal outcome, and work towards your ideal outcome, your ideal solution, in order to feel the best about that situation. I hope you found this useful, helpful, and insightful. If you have, please pop a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Thanks to Metaphysical Mike for being in chat. And thanks for everyone else for being in chat. Don't forget to grab a copy of my best-selling book, Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, Love, Life and Sex, A Celebration of Asexual Diversity, on Amazon and from all good bookshops. And also my other asexual bestseller, which is Diary Confessions of a Hyper-Romantic Asexual, 78 Life Lessons to Ace Your Life. These are excellent books about asexuality, dating, relationships, increasing confidence, and all this type of stuff. So yeah, go and grab those now, and I'll see you soon on the next video live stream. Lots of love, take care, and stay ace. Bye.